Guthrie heard his keys jingle in the lock of his trailer as he stepped inside. It had been a long day, but thankfully, it had been mostly uneventful. No more senseless crimes, no more nonsense, and Guthrie had finished his mountain of paperwork and ignored the voice of his predecessor. Now, however, it seemed he wouldn't be able to ignore him. "Welcome home, temporary sheriff." Guthrie sighed, hanging his belt on the hook by the door and sliding the gun he wore into his pocket as he went to put it in the safe in his bedroom. "Look, I've had a long day. Maybe you could take a night off or something." He came back into the little kitchen to find Masterson, or the rotting corpse of him, still sitting at the table with a couple of glasses and a bottle of Guthrie's whiskey. "Oh, now what kind of vengeful spirit would I be if I just let you be?" Guthrie thought about just climbing under the covers and ignoring this undead menace, but decided that it might be time to face him. "Why are you bothering me, Masterson? You know I didn't kill you. Not really. At best, I just let you die. Chose to live rather than die, so why are you hounding me?" Masterson's rotted lips pulled up in a smile as he took the glass and drank deeply. "That's the problem, Guthrie. You think I'm a figment of your imagination, some kind of manifestation of your guilt. But I'm not. I am who I claim to be, and the quicker you figure that out, the quicker you can be rid of me." Guthrie looked at the glass, and after speculating about how a figment of his imagination could have poured actual booze into his tumbler, he took a sip and grimaced. His finest whiskey was little better than rot gut, but there wasn't much to be had in this mudhole of a town. It was either pay upward for liquor that he couldn't handle, or drink the stuff that people made in the backwoods that was also often too much for him to handle. This stuff was the latter, and he shuddered as he tapped the side of the glass for more. "Burns like coal oil, don't it?" "You mentioned something about getting rid of you," Guthrie said, not rising to the sally. "You see, Guthrie, as much as I want to blame you for my current state of affairs, you are correct. You aren't completely responsible for my death, but you were a part of it. If you want to be rid of me, then you have to bring these people to justice." "And who are these people?" Guthrie asked, taking a sip and shuddering through the fire. "What was your first kill like, Guthrie?" The question took the temporary sheriff by surprise, and he coughed a little in the middle of another sip. "Excuse me?" "Oh, come on," said the old spook, taking a sip of his own. "Don't get shy on me now. You know mine. I'm sure they told you all about it. I shot those bootleggers when I was just a deputy. We crept up on them while they were tending their still, probably some of the last in the county by that point. To be sure, though, they drew on me first. If they'd just surrendered, I'd have been happy to take them in. 1968 that was. How about you, Guthrie? When was the first time you drew blood?" "What are you, some kind of deranged Jacob Marley, here to show me the ghosts of deaths past, present, and yet to come?" Masterson laughed and sounded like gravel in an old mug. "Perhaps. Maybe I just want to make you think before you acquire yourself another vengeful spirit." "I believe we were talking about getting rid of you," Guthrie said, leaning closer to the spirit than he strictly wanted to. "And if you want to continue talking about it, I suggest you humor me," Masterson drawled, taking a long sip before refilling his cup. "Now, your first kill. Who was it?" Guthrie took a huge sip, coughing and shuddering as he tried to get his thoughts under control. First kill. It was something lawmen often thought about. You didn't spend time on the road, especially not in a big town, without having to draw your weapon with intent. If you were a cop for long enough, someone was going to make you draw. They either didn't like what you had done, they didn't agree with your judgment, or they just didn't like the shield. It wasn't bootleggers, unfortunately. No, mine was a little less grand than all that. "Do tell," Masterson said, refilling his glass. "We were responding to a mugging. Something simple. When the guy told us that the mugger had gone down the alley at the end of the row, my partner and I decided to check it out. Well, there wasn't a mugger down there, but there was someone. They lunged out of a dark spot between the two alleys, coming out at my partner as he went past, and saw the knife about a second before it would have been in him. I didn't think. I just shot. I put 2 in her, my partner wincing as he turned around, but the deed was done by then. She, because it had been a she, fell down dead with a hole right between her eyes. That was my first, but it wasn't my last." Masterson smiled rottenly. "No, I guess it wasn't, was it? Because one of those times brought you to our little town, didn't it?" Guthrie looked away, but it was all the answer that Masterson needed. "Who was it, Guth? Who did you kill that was bad enough to make you leave the big city?" Guthrie didn't answer. The whiskey was starting to play hell with his head, and he wasn't sure he could control his tongue for much longer. Guthrie had just wanted a little drink before bed, something to chase the empty devils from his mind, but this was threatening to slip into a full-blown drunk. He'd be miserable tomorrow, and the town's business wasn't getting any less dicey. He knew he shouldn't, but when the ghoul offered him another knock, he took it. Sobriety and regret were for tomorrow. Tonight, he was drinking with the dead. It was something they told me to leave alone, but I couldn't let it be. I had another hard-ass boss, kind of like you, but maybe not as clean as you. We knew about some people peddling high-end drugs, pharmaceuticals, and worse, but we'd been told to let it lay. The people involved were a little young for it, just college kids, and one of them was connected. His dad was a senator, one of Georgia's finest, and we were told that if we harassed his son, there would be trouble. My boss said the same, that we could arrest the normal people, but that we were not to mess with the son. That didn't sit right with me. I figured if we could just catch him with enough dope on him, then the judge would have to see what he was about. We arrested him more than once in raids, but it never mattered. His dad always bought him out of it, and I ate reprimand after pink slip after write-up after verbal order to cease and desist. I didn't stop, though. One night, I caught him dead to rights. I caught him with enough stuff to stock several gangs, and instead of asking me what I meant to do about it, he drew a gun on me. Maybe he was high. Maybe he was just tired of being chased, but he was a lousy shot. I shot him twice before he could even pull the trigger, and that was something that Daddy couldn't buy him out of. They wanted to arrest me, but I had body cam footage, and what could they say? I was told to leave, to go, to never come back, or else someone might draw a little faster the next time I had a gun pulled on me. Masterson nodded, drinking deeply before sighing and putting it down again. I guess I knew some of that. Your boss told us you were a good cop, but you had too many enemies. Guess I took that to mean that you were someone who couldn't leave well enough alone. The fact that he didn't blackball you should have told me what I needed to know, but I guess I preferred to hear it from you. You could have just asked, Guthrie said. And so I have, Masterson said, grinning at his one-time deputy. Guthrie had to steel himself against a shudder as a roach scampered across his lips and into a hole in his cheek. Now, Guthrie said, are we done with this yet? I would like to get back to the... One more, if you'll entertain me, Masterson said. And you will entertain me, Guthrie. If you ever hope to be rid of me, boyo, you will entertain me and suffer me and put me to rest. It's the least you can do, hey, killer? Guthrie growled under his breath. The old corpse was right. He would suffer just about anything to be rid of this old spook. So, and this one's for all the marbles, so be sure you answer me true. Who told you about this place? Guthrie knit his brows together. What does that matter? It matters a whole awful lot, kid. It matters because Cashmere ain't the sort of place you just walk into. It's special, if you hadn't realized it yet. It's special because not a lot of people find their way here. And that's just how we like it. People who do are usually helped, and the list of people who help other people find this place is very short. So, who told you where to find Cashmere? Guthrie thought about it for a moment, letting the whiskey slosh in his glass as he swirled it. How had he heard about this place? Guthrie had been living here for years, half a decade at least, and he had never once questioned why he had come here. This was a podunk little town, and not exactly a career hotspot. Why had he just decided to blow into town to start from scratch? Because of the drunk, he said finally, remembering that night and realizing that it had all been because of him. A drunk? The old ghoul rasped. Yeah. When I shot the kid, they put me in a holding cell. Kid's dad was furious, mad enough to shoot me himself, but I'd found his son in the middle of a crime after all, and there wasn't much they could say about that. While they deliberated, I sat in there feeling sorry for myself. As I sat, this old drunk a little way down kept yelling, "Cashmere, Cashmere," he said again and again. Not quite to Jeremiah, past Tiger, and all there a man could want. That's the place for a tramp like me. Somewhere to hide, somewhere to think, somewhere to remember. He said it again and again and again till I thought I was going to go crazy. By the time my lieutenant came down there, the drunk's declaration was marching around my head like a soldier off to war. He handed me my personal effects and told me to be out of town by sunset. If you aren't, I can't promise you won't end up in the morgue, he told me. There's a very angry father that's likely to take what he considers justice into his own hands. If you get on somewhere, I'll vouch for your work ethic, but I suggest you make it far from here. You're a good cop, Guthrie, but you just don't seem to know when to leave well enough alone. He rolled the door, and out I went. I never looked back either. That's how I came to be here, Masterson, and it seems like it might have been more trouble than it was worth the longer I'm here. Masterson nodded, knocking back the last of the whiskey, and rucked his chair back on its hind legs. There are people in this town that know about what happens in the woods. One is the mayor. One is the warden at the prison. 3 of them sit on the board of the hospital. And the last is the head shrinker. She, most of all, knows why those woods are so dangerous. It's got something to do with that hole, and I want to know what it is. Don't you know? Guthrie said. You had the sign. Didn't they tell you what it was for? Masterson shook his head, his neck creaking sickeningly. Nope. They just told me that the sigil would keep me safe when I was about their business. I don't know any more than you do about that hole, but when you become sheriff, you'll be able to find out all sorts of things, and then you can figure out how to do something about it. Till then, I'll hang around and give you a poke now and then, so you don't forget who you're working for, kiddo. Guthrie shook his head and got up. He had to work at 0600, and he was going to have a hell of a hangover. For what it's worth, Masterson said, stopping him, the more I find out about you, the more I believe that you would make a fine sheriff. I may have been too hard on you, boy, but that don't change the fact that you as good as killed me. Whatever your intentions, my blood is on your hands. Guthrie didn't say anything. He took himself to bed, slamming the door behind him as his final word on the matter. Masterson didn't bother him that night, and he was grateful for it. You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.